Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And I think I mentioned in the last tutorial that I might do something else with the Evil Eye theme. We're coming up on the end of his Hispanic Heritage Month, and I did a necklace next time, and I thought I would do a little bracelet. I have these cute little eyes. You'll be able to see them. Oh gosh, the glare. See it better down here on the mat. But I used these in a class and I have so many left over that I thought, oh, it would really be neat if we could use them for something else. And so I decided to do a tutorial. So we're going to do a bracelet using these little eyes. We're going to do an evil eye bracelet. And the evil eye is in practically every culture has some rendition of what it takes to ward off an evil eye. So I wanted to bring it out for Hispanic Heritage Month because it's just, I really enjoy it. And what I wanted to say is you might want to look up some of the references to it just to see what we're talking about here. But in the meantime, we're going to make a really neat bracelet, and it doesn't take, well, I guess the most significant thing would be the little eyes. I got them from Amazon. You can probably get them from more places, but seriously, I just got them from Amazon. It's I guess a specialty item, but it's not impossible to get. Look up evil eye beads. Tons of them pop up. I got them from Amazon. You can too. So we need those beads, and we need a length of chain for the bracelet part of our bracelet. These beads are for the focal. I'm also going to do a beaded clasp on the back using smaller eyes, and you'll be able to see them when we get down to the mat. Tools that you'll need are your regular pliers, your round nose. They're round all the way around the barrel with a taper up towards the tip. The square nose pliers, which are actually slightly rounded on the outside, but the inside is completely flat, which is what helps you make your square shapes and use it for things like that, or use it to squish wire down when you're using round wire, and the round pliers will work for that. If you buy these in the store, make sure that the inside of this does not have those little grips on it or ridges, because that'll chew up your wire, and you really don't want that to happen. The last thing is a pair of pliers. These are flush cutters. You can use this kind or this kind. Either one works. Whatever you can find in the store for jewelry making will be fine. We're just going to be using it to cut wire. I've already cut my chain, but you can also use it to cut chain. And we need some jump rings. So that's it. The components to make it are the beads, the chain, the wire, and the jump rings. And we'll be using 24 gauge wire to do the body of our vocal piece, and 20 gauge wire to make our clasp. So let's get down here to the mat and get started. Okay, here's my little eye bead. And then I have these smaller ones that I'm going to use for the clasp. They're cute. They're so cute. Anyway, so that's what we're using. And what I'm going to do is get 12 inches. It only takes 10 to 12 inches, depending on how much wire you want to use to wrap around your bead. I'm going to get 12 inches here. I'm pretty sure that's going to be more than I need, but that's what I'm getting. Actually, I think I just knocked it down to about 11 because I hate wasting wire. Okay, so yeah, I've got about 10 and a half inches of wire, 24 gauge. So what I'm going to do is measure from the end. I'm going to give myself about, what am I doing? That's not right. This is what I need to wrap my piece. But the first thing I want is a piece of 20 gauge wire, and I'm going to give myself, I need about 4 inches. I would suggest that you give yourself at least 4.5 inches of wire, because this is going to be the stem that holds my piece in place. So I've got 4.5 inches of wire here. And what I want to do is measure 1.5 inches from the tip. I'm going to bend that back, grab my round nose pliers, and slide the wire down about halfway down my pliers. That's as far as I need to go. Bring the short tail of wire over the top of my pliers and down the side until it's going in the same direction as the long tail. Without shifting my wire, I'm going to open my pliers up and rotate it, just reposition the pliers so that now I can push that short tail under my pliers and out to the side, like so. So that's what I have now. It's a little bit off to the side, my little loop here. See how it's leaning a little bit to the side? So all I need to do is roll it over until it's now nicely placed on top of that long stem of wire. There we go. Then I'm going to wrap that little tail around one time. Take that all the way around, like so. And that's what I have so far. So I want about 3/4 of an inch because I'm going to make a little spiral. So I'm going to give myself about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch is all I need. And I have about 5/8 of an inch. So that's enough because I'm just going to make a miniature spiral. Just a little embellishment up here. So I'm going to take the tip of my pliers and hold on to the tip of my wire, like so. And let's get back this way. It's easier for me and easier for you to see, I think. So I got the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers, and I'm going to start making a spiral. So just make a tiny little loop. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, so I just did a little tiny loop there. I'm going to bring this down a little bit closer. Okay, so I've got a little loop. And I'm going to continue to loop it or the wire around itself. Just give it a nice little loop around here. And when I get to where I can't do it anymore with my round pliers, I'm going to grab the flat pliers and continue the spiral. And I just want a tiny little spiral here, just something to give it a little more interest. I had done this without a spiral and it just looked a little bare. So, you know me, I love my spirals. Okay, so I have a little spiral there and I'm just going to squish it down on top of my loop. That's it. Just a little spiral on my loop. There we go. And now I'm going to grab my bead, my large one, my little eye, and I'm going to slide that on my wire and grab my 24 gauge wire. Actually, you can do this part before you put the bead on. It might be easier. So I'm going to give myself about a 1/2 inch tail of wire just to hold on to. And then I'm going to wrap my 24 gauge wire around the 20 gauge wire just 2 times. Let's give it a nice snug wrap. There we go. Squeeze those little wraps together. And you can use your pliers if you need to get it a little tighter. There we go. And then I'm going to cut this little tail off because I don't need that short tail. Let's get it out of the way. Cut it as close as I can get. And then push that little tip down against the long tail, just so it's nice and smooth. Now I can put my large eye on, just slide that on. These are just a little acrylic eyes. They have round ones, they have them out of glass, whatever you want to purchase. Again, I got mine on Amazon. Easy peasy. Okay, so now I'm going to take the long tail of wire, and what I'm going to do is a modified herringbone wrap. It's just going to be a few short wraps around, but I'm using the herringbone style wrap. Find it nice in the middle of the camera. So I've got my long tail of wire. I'm going to bring it along the side of my bead, nice and close along the side here. Then I'm going to hold on to the wire so that it doesn't pop up. And I'm going to wrap that tail around the long stem just under the bead. Then I'm going to go to the other side. I'm just turning this around. I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to bring that wire around the other side of my bead. Just like so. And hold on to the wire so that it doesn't slide up and over the top of your bead. Just wrap that around one time. I like to push my wires together so that the rings are nice and neat. Then I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to bring that wire down that first side again. And I want the wires to not be too much bunched up. I don't want them in front of or behind the other wire. Just get it as close to the outside of that wire as you can. So there's my second wire on the side. Again, I'm holding the wire down so that it doesn't shift too much while I'm wrapping. Wrap that around one time. Go to the other side. Make another wrap. Just right down the side there. And wrap it around. And here's what we've got so far. Isn't that neat? It really makes it look like an eye. I love it. Okay, let's go down the other side. Just bring it down the side and wrap it around that tail or the stem of long stem of my 20 gauge wire. And bring the wire down the other side. And you're just going to keep doing this until you get it to the size that you want. The one thing that you want to make sure of when you finish is that you have about 2 inches of wire, 1.5 inches to 2 inches of this 24 gauge wire left, because we're going to do something fun with that. So, okay, let's straighten my wires out a little bit. Make sure they're not too bunchy. I want them all to show. Okay, and I'm going to bring it back down the side again. And wrap. And I think that's enough. Do I want to do one more? No, I think that's enough. So what I'm going to do now, I have at least 2 inches here. You want to have at least 1.5 inches to 2 inches. I have about 2 3/4 inches, which is fine. Gives me enough to work with. And now I'm going to introduce these little silver beads that I don't think I mentioned. So we have these little 4mm silver beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I used 8 last time. So let's try that again. If I need another one, I will put it on. And that will depend on the length of your eye. If you make it longer, you'll need more silver. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and feed these little silver balls on the 24 gauge stem of wire. That's the wrapping wire, not this one that's holding your piece in place, but the one that you've been wrapping with. That's what you're putting these little silver balls on. Okay. That's the third one. And come on, get on there. 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me check. See if that's enough. Let's do one more. One more silver bead. And let's see what I have. Yes, that's perfect. See what I've done? See what I did there? I made her some eyelashes. I love it. Okay, so now that I've got her all dolled up, got my beads on my strand, and now I'm just going to wrap this tail around the 20 gauge wire stem. Okay, just hold everything in place here. Hold the beads so that they don't slide, and wrap that around that stem. I'm going to wrap it around twice. Nice and secure. Okay, flip that tail end off as close as I can get to the wrap. Flip that off and push down that little tip. There we go, nice and tidy. And then I'm going to slide my little focal piece up to the top of my wrap here, where my wrap is. Let's check the shaping, make sure it looks good. It does. Isn't that cute? And now I'm going to, I enjoy myself so much. And now I'm going to wrap the other loop on the other side. So I'm going to do, bend that wire back, just like I did on the other side. I don't need this much, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap, and then I'll cut off what I don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my wire down about halfway down my pliers again. I think that's where I went the first time. Yeah. Bring that tail over the top of my pliers and down the side. Or actually just going across the top of my bead. And then I'm going to open up my pliers and reposition and bring that around the rest of the way. And that loop looks a little large. See that space that's in between there? I'm going to pull this little tail until it gets smaller. When the space goes away, the loop gets smaller. I think that's good. Might be a little bigger still than I want. Yeah. Pull that nice and tight and get that extra space out of there. That looks much better. And now I just need to make my little spiral. Make sure that's centered nicely. There we go. Yes. And now to make my spiral. And I only need, oh, I need to wrap it. So I'm going to wrap that tail. Around the stem, just between the bead and my loop. And I just need to wrap that around one time. Actually, 1.5 times, 1.5. Because I'm going to make my little spiral coming from the back here. Okay, now I just need, I think I had 5/8 of an inch on the other side. I'm gonna do the same over here. So cut that down to about 5/8 of an inch. Take a little tip off there. Yes, do a little bit more. Snip that off. And then let's make my spiral. Grab my pliers. Grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers and make a loop, a tiny little loop. And continue to loop that around. Make a little spiral. And switch over to my square pliers when I can't go any further. And just continue a little spiral. This way. There we go. And then push my spiral down on top of my loop. Adjust it the way I want it to look. Squeeze that together a little more. There's my little spiral. And there we go. Isn't that neat? That is so cute. Okay, so now we've got our eye. And I like to shape it a little bit so that it fits the curve of my wrist. There we go. If we can get that to focus better. There it is. Here's my little eye with her little eyelashes. I saw something similar to this on, I see it on YouTube. I think I saw it on YouTube. They had all kinds of pearls all around it and little dangly things. And I thought, but this is so cute without all of those embellishments. So I said, well, we're just going to minimize that and just do a little, my little girl's just going to have some little eyelashes that I wish she could bat. She can't, but whatever. So that's my little centerpiece. So now what I need to do is grab some chain. I just got a length of chain. I already cut it in half. So I've got 2 lengths of chain that I'm going to attach to my centerpiece. And the way I'm going to do that is with some jump rings. Very simple. So how, you ask, do we properly open a jump ring? Well, we grab a pair of pliers. I'm using the square ones. Find the little split in the jump ring, just right here on the side. There. And what I do is hold the jump ring with the pliers on one side, take my thumb on the other side and push down if that's possible. Now these are really small, and sometimes the smaller they are, the tougher they are to move. But that one worked. Push it down, and now I have a nice open jump ring. The second way that you can do it, there's several ways. What you don't want to do is put your pliers inside and open them. I see people doing that, and they pull the circle apart, and then you can't get it back to its former round shape, at least not easily. So let's avoid doing that. So now I've got my pliers on the side. There's a little opening. I'm going to grab another pair of pliers on the other side and just twist. And here we go. Open jump ring. Very nice. So now I just need to attach my chain to my centerpiece. So I'm going to grab a jump ring, find the last chain link, slide the chain through the jump ring, then grab one side of my centerpiece, slide that on the jump ring right there through the loop at the top, and close my jump ring up. And I just do the reverse of what I did. I can take my finger, hold onto it with my pliers, and just push down with my pliers or with my finger to get that closed back up. Nice and neat. So there's one side. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Oh, I guess I should have mentioned, when you make your spiral, make sure you have a little space at the top here that you can slide your jump ring in. You want to make sure that you don't cover it up completely. You want to leave enough space to get your jump ring through. Take your chain, put the last link on the jump ring, and close it. And again, you can use the finger and plier method, or you can use the 2-plier method, whichever works for you better. And I've seen some people just use their fingers. I find that to be a challenge for me. So I use at least one plier. Adjust it, make sure that those ends are flush together and nice and smooth. And then there is my little piece, my little eye. And now I want to put it on and check to see the size. So mine is almost together. And remember that your because I bent it so that it would be nice and curved against my arm instead of sticking straight out on the sides. So there we go. But check the length of your chain. Remember that you're going to have a good inch more with your clasp. So mine is almost together. So all you want to do is take the chain that you get, those that you get kids, cut it in half. Don't do anything else with it until you put it on your centerpiece so that you can measure, make sure that you've got enough for your wrist, and then cut it off. I have enough, so I don't need to cut anything. So I'm going to go ahead and make my clasp. So what I want for that, let's do the loop first. I'm going to give myself about 2.5 inches of wire for the loop. Actually, I'm going to give myself, 2.5 inches of wire for the loop. There we go. And I'm going to do a simple loop, so you don't have to worry too much about wrapping. I'm making something that's very simple because this is very specialized, and you can wear this any time of year, but I don't think that you need to go to a whole heck of a lot of trouble when it's something that's for a specific purpose at a specific time of year that you might not wear again until next year. So I went ahead and cut 2.5 inches of wire. So I'm going to make my loop that will be used for the hook clasp to go through. And for that, I need for it to be big enough for my clasp to go through. It doesn't have to be huge, but I want to make sure that that clasp will fit. So I'm going to slide it back about halfway down my pliers. That's pretty good. And then I'm going to put my wire in, make sure nothing's sticking out the back, and I'm going to make a nice loop. Just going to rotate my plier hand, the hand that's holding the pliers, until I have a loop. So when the little tip is touching the rest of the wire, I've got my loop. Now notice that it is leaning to one side, so I kind of have a P. And I want this loop to be centered on top of my wire. So I'm going to go back in with my pliers and I'm going to bend that loop back until it's nicely in the center. So that's what I have. Nice centered loop. Then I'm going to grab one of my little eyes. And, well, this one's interesting. It's got a little small pupil on one side and a bigger pupil on the other side. Okay, whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and find the drill point. Where are you? And slide it on my wire. And now I'm going to make another loop, another simple loop. So I'm going to bend my wire. And this one's going side to side. So I'm going to bend this wire until it's going up and down. So this one's going side to side. This one's going to go up and down. So it's going in the opposite direction of the larger one. So now all I need is about 1/2 inch of wire, because I'm just going to make a small loop that I'll use to put on the chain of my wire, of my bracelet. So measure about down to about 1/2 inch. That's all you need. Snip that tail off. See, I told you we didn't need much. I got 2.5 inches and I just cut off over 1 inch. Yikes. Waste. Now I need to slide down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers because I don't need as big a loop. Make sure nothing is sticking out the back like we did before. And I'm going to rotate my plier hand and just keep rotating, open, rotate, clamp back down, open, and just keep turning until my loop is closed. Completely closed. And there's a loop part of my clasp. This one's going up and down. This one's going side to side. And if you turn it the other way, then this one's going up and down. And this one's going side to side. All right, let's put that out of the way. And let's move on to the hook clasp. Now for that, I need about 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches of wire. And I need to bend my wire about 1 1/8 inches from the tip. Just 1 1/8 inches. Bend in it and fold it down. Grab my square pliers, squeeze those ends together right here where it's folded, nice and close. Go. And then I'm going to go down here about 1/4 inch, 1/4 to 1/2 inch from the bottom, because I'm going to make a little hook up here, and it doesn't have to be too big. It doesn't have to be a huge hook. So I'm going to go down here and fold up about, I'm going to give it about 1/2 inch from the bottom there, like that. Then I'm going to grab my square pliers and I'm going to hold on to my wire ends. Make sure they're side by side. I slide down to about the middle of my pliers because I find I have a better grip there. If I try to do it from here and try to wrap, this is going to keep moving around. And I don't want that. So I go back here where I have a better grip on my wire and this won't move while I'm trying to wrap. So both of my wires are as close together as side by side as I can get them. Take that short tail of wire and I'm going to wrap it around the long tail 1 time, 1.5 times, depends on how much wire you have and if you don't mind clipping a little bit of it off. There we go. And it also depends on how long you want this to be, because we're going to put a bead on here and that's going to extend the length of my hook. And if you don't want it to be too long, you want to wrap less. So now I'm going to cut off this little tail. I can't hold it because it's too short. And I see people put their finger over that tip, and that scares me because unless you have a good hold on it, if it has any way to fly, it could go right into your finger. So I wouldn't suggest that. Turn it down into a little well, clip that little tail off, and then push that little tip down. There it is. And I like to go behind it and just push down from the back. There we go, nice and neat. And now I'm going to make my hook, I think. I'll make my hook last. First, I'm going to go ahead and put my bead on. Slide that down on my wire. And now I just need to make a loop, just like I did with the other one. This hook part is going to be going up and down like that. So I'm going to bend my wire to the side opposite, just like I did with, I'm pointing, just like I did with my loop. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down to about 1/2 inch, just like I did on the other one. And I know it's 1/2 inch because I've done this many times. So I give myself 1/2 inch, and that is enough if I'm going down 1/3 of the way down my pliers. If you're not sure of where you're going to end up, you're better off cutting it a little bit longer and having to cut it down later. Because if you cut it too short and then you try to make too big a loop, you're going to have to start all over because you're not going to have enough wire. Okay, so I'm going to go 1/3 of the way down my pliers because I don't need a huge loop. Okay, my phone's telling me it's almost time to wrap it up. Okay, and I'm going to take my plier hand and I'm going to make a loop just like I did on the other side. Just small turns until I have a nice loop. And make sure it's completely closed. There we go. There's my loop. There, nice. And now it's time to make my hook. Now I always like the part that I clipped off, the little tail, to be under my hook. Wow, I can't even feel it. That's lovely. It really got pushed right down here in between the wrap and the bead, so it's not going to catch on anything no matter what I do. Great. So what I'm going to do now is take the tip of my pliers. It can be your round ones or your square ones, either one. And I'm just going to, actually I don't need it, my pliers for that. I'm going to go right down here to my wrap, and I'm going to bend my wire back towards the bead, just a little bit, not a full all the way back, but just about halfway. So this is what I have. Yeah. And then I'm going to go down here to the tip, right there at the very tip with the tip of my pliers, right on the tip. And I'm going to bend this little tip up in the direction of my bead as well. So just give it a little boop, just like that. So now this is what I have. There. And then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and I'm going to slide my wire just under where it's folded. I'm going to grab it with my pliers, slide my wire back about half of the distance, a little more than halfway from the tip of my pliers, just under where it's bent. we go. And now I'm going to rotate away from where it's bent. It's bent back this way. I'm going to rotate the other direction. Just small turns, very small, until I have a nice little shepherd's hook. The tip of my pliers touches the wire down there. And so there is my shepherd's hook. And there is my little loop. Remember I said I wanted this to just be just big enough for my shepherd's hook to go through. And there we have it. Cute. Now all we have to do is attach it. All right, so I'm going to take one side of my bracelet and right back here with the small loop, I'm going to open up and attach it to the end loop of my chain. And then I'm going to close it back up. Somebody said, I have to open it again? I just closed it. Yeah. Just take, there we go. Just remember, as the more times you open this up or work with your wire, the more it's work hardening it. So that's good. You're making it a little more secure. So I'm going to open it up again. Again, I'm opening it on the side. I'm not pulling apart. I'm twisting. Grab my chain and slide the last loop onto my open loop. The last link of my chain onto the open loop of my link. And close it back up. Nice and tight. And there we have it. And there's my bracelet. Isn't that great? Let's try it on. Yeah. Okay, there it is. There's my little bracelet with my little eye on it. Yay. Get my arm turned so you can see. Oh, I know. Just turn this. There we go. There's my little bracelet with my little eye. What do you think of that? Oh, that's kind of awesome. I love the way this turned out. I do. It's so much fun and so easy, very fast. So that's our piece for the day. I hope you enjoyed it and had as much fun watching me do this as I had doing it. It's so lightweight. It doesn't weigh anything. I love it. And there are the little beads of my clasp on the back there. So if it gets flipped around, you still have something pretty to look at. I love this. It's so cute. I never would have thought of it before. But it's the perfect timing and I really enjoy it. So those of you who get kits, you'll get the little eyes that go in the kits. I'm going to give you enough to make embellish your clasp if you want to. If you don't want to do that, take those other two little eyes and make a pair of earrings. Wouldn't that be neat? I know I sometimes I get really carried away with doing theme things, and I've already done the necklace. And I'm not going to make the earrings because you're probably going to be sick of it. And by the time this comes out, Hispanic Heritage Month will be almost over. So really, those of you who get kits, take those other two eyes and make a pair of earrings out of them if you would like. But this way you have this lovely little bracelet, and I absolutely adore it. It's so cute, so lightweight, and it's just very whimsical. And little kids can make this too, I think. I think it's pretty easy. I don't think it's hard at all. I showed it to a friend of mine who and said, and I quote, "I freaking love it." So, so I hope that you enjoyed this. Please let me know one way or the other. You can get in contact with me at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. You can post pictures and comments on the Facebook page, and I hope you'll post pictures because I love to see what you do. You can post them on the library's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/ sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. Facebook.com/DeKalb Library. That's Facebook.com/DEKALBLIBRARY. Or you can post comments on the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb Library. And I would love to hear from you, good and bad. If there's something wrong, and I know sometimes my camera gets a little fuzzy. So if things like that are happening, please let me know, because sometimes I get so caught up in the making, I don't pay attention to the camera, and I really should do a better job of that. I hope I did okay today, but let me know one way or the other how you felt about this. If you liked it, I'm glad I did it, because when I don't do things and I did some of this on in a classroom, and we made, I thought I had the little pendant. We did a little pendant with the eyes, and it was so cute that I thought if we do something, a tutorial, they'll have a little bracelet if some of them get those kits. So those of you who get kits, you'll have the eyes, you'll have the chain, you'll have the wire, you'll have the jump rings, everything that you need to make this adorable little bracelet. That's it, ladies and gents, and all of you out there. That is our program for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll contact me and reach out. Just let me know what you think. But until next time, I hope you have a great week and a great weekend, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.